Imagine bringing something into your home, thinking it's just an ordinary object, a painting perhaps. You hang it on the wall, admiring its beauty. But what if this seemingly harmless artwork held a dark secret one, which unraveled your life piece by piece? What if, instead of adding warmth to your home, it brought cold, creeping fear? It's the story of a painting called Crying Boy, an image said to be cursed, and the curse is one that will turn your life into a living nightmare. The Thompson family had recently moved into their new home, a charming old house on the outskirts of town. They were excited to start fresh and fill the walls with art that reflected their tastes. One Saturday morning, while exploring an antique shop downtown, they stumbled upon a painting that caught their eye. It was a portrait of a young boy with tear-filled eyes, gazing out with a sorrowful expression. Mrs. Thompson was immediately taken by it. "There's something about this," she said, feeling an inexplicable connection to the painting. Despite Mr. Thompson's hesitation, they decided to buy it and hang it in the living room above the fireplace. That evening, as they sat down to dinner, the atmosphere in the house began to change. The air felt heavier, and an uneasy silence filled the room. The youngest daughter, Emily, looked visibly disturbed. "The boy in the painting. He looks so sad," she whispered. Strange things began to happen the first night the painting was hung. The temperature in the living room dropped suddenly, causing everyone to shiver. Mr. Thompson, thinking it was a draft, checked all the windows, but they were tightly shut. As they went to bed, the sound of footsteps echoed through the house, but nobody was walking around. The next morning, Mrs. Thompson found the painting tilted, even though it had been securely hung the night before. She straightened it, discarding it as nothing more than the house settling. But that was just the beginning. Over the next few days, objects in the house started moving on their own. The TV would turn on and off, the creaky doors opened themselves, and lights flickered without explanation. Emily's toys were found scattered in odd places, even though she hadn't touched them. The family dog, Max, refused to enter the living room, growling whenever he approached the painting. Then one night, the family woke up because of the smell of smoke. Panicked, they rushed downstairs to find the curtains near the painting on fire. Mr. Thompson quickly put out the fire, but the incident left them all shaken. They couldn't understand how the fire had started. There were no candles, no matches, nothing that could have ignited the flames. Quickly, their eyes stuck on the painting. Terrified, they began their research about the painting. But what they found sent shivers down their spines. The Crying Boy painting was notorious for bringing misfortune to its owners. Many families who had owned a copy of the painting reported similar unexplained fires, in which a number of people suffered severe damage or even death. It was rumored the orphan boy of the painting had died in a tragic fire, and his spirit was said to haunt the artwork, seeking revenge for his untimely death. Mrs. Thompson was horrified. "We have to get rid of it," she insisted. But Mr. Thompson, skeptical and stubborn, refused. "It's just a coincidence," he argued. "There's no such thing as a cursed painting." That night, the situation escalated. The family was woken up by loud crashes and banging sounds coming from the living room. They rushed downstairs to find furniture overturned, and the painting, which lay on the floor now, staring at them with the boy's eyes filled with even more sorrow and maybe a hint of anger. Suddenly, the fire in the fireplace began to rage, even though it was not lit, and flames shot out so that they were afraid the house would burn down. The heat was unbearable, and as the family scrambled to escape, Emily pointed at the painting, her voice trembling. "The boy! He's crying for help!" Desperate, Mrs. Thompson grabbed the painting and threw it into the fire. The flames grasped the canvas, and for a moment, it was as if this was finally over. The fire had burnt out, and an eerie silence filled the room. The family stood there, shaken but relieved. But as they turned to leave, they heard a soft, sobbing sound, faint but unmistakable, coming from behind them. They spun around, and to their horror, The outline of the crying boy's face appeared in the ashes, his eyes still filled with tears. The Thompson family moved out of the house the next day, leaving everything behind. They tried to forget about the painting, but the memory lingered, haunting their dreams. They never spoke of it again, but sometimes, late at night, they would hear the sound of soft sobbing echoing through their new home, a reminder that the curse of the crying boy was far from over. The painting may have been destroyed, but its curse lived on, waiting for its next victim.